Well, this is John Black, Super Chemist. We're part two. Modern mom shows son her true colors. I want you to understand how, this is more important than. Let me just go into this, okay? My mother, like I said, she read the Bible an hour a day for 80 years. We used to go to church, 3, 4 times a week. Okay, she's a devout Christian. All right, I'm not a Christian. At 8 years old, I stopped being a Christian. By 10, I was like, Christians are crazy. You know what I mean? Stuff that's in the Bible. They got human sacrifice. They got slavery. They got oppression of women. They got raping little girls, raping adults. It's just this never-ending list of horrible behavior. So I would go over to her. I'd show her passages, even though she read the Bible for 30 minutes to an hour a day, every day for 80 years. For some reason, the passages that I show her, I never saw those. Never seen them. How is that possible? You know what I mean? So anyways, I'd show her, and I start out with small stuff and go up to the big stuff, you know what I mean? Like abortion. God actually not only condones abortion in the Bible, and we know he's talking because in the Bible, the first sentence in the paragraph is, this is God talking. And then he talks and tells you how he condones abortion. He gives you a step-by-step instructions how to do the abortion. Obviously he's for abortion. I mean, only certain kinds of abortion, obviously. Not all abortion. So I go over and I show her the passage. Of course, she never seen the passage. She never knew that it existed. But when because she's, I'm against abortion, I'm against abortion. But then I take it over, show her, yes, some abortion is moral. Human sacrifice, yes. So, after I show her in the Bible, she's like, yeah, I mean, I don't know why, but if God says, human sacrifice is okay, then it's okay in that situation, you know what I mean? And the things kept getting more and more horrible. The last thing I went over to, and I did this like 10 times to her, once a month. The last time was about how a story in the Bible, and there's many stories like this. This isn't the only one. God tells go over to the neighboring town, kill all the men, women, little boys, but the little girls only kill the non-virgins. The virgins you keep, okay? And how are they going to know that they're virgin or not? After they kill the entire town, their entire family, they have to bend them over and stick their fingers up inside them to see if they're virgins or not. So then they kill the ones that aren't virgins. The ones that are virgins, they shave their head bald. They rip their fingernails completely out of their hands, and when all their fingernails are out and they're bald, then the men choose which one they want to take as a wife. Then they force them to marry them, and then they take the little girl home and rape her for the rest of her life and make her do domestic duties. So I bring this up to her, and she's like, I don't know why, I don't know. Well, you think it's okay though, right? You think it's okay to rape those little girls. If you force someone to marry you, you're not married. So if you have sex with them, that's rape. Especially if they're little girls that you just murdered their entire family in town in front of them. So she'd hem and haw, I don't know. And, every time, this happened every time, she'd hem and haw about, and then I would get up because she's like almost 80 years old at this time when I'm doing this, So I always say, God is looking down. If you're pretty much at death's door, you can die tomorrow. Do you really want to go to heaven and have this, I'm telling you, this is in the Bible, and you're not sticking up for God saying that it's moral. Is God the type that's going to forgive? It doesn't seem like he'd forgive. It seems like he'd send you straight to hell. And at that point, she always gets up and says, yes, God is moral when that human sacrifice. He was moral for that abortion. He was immoral for that rape. He was immoral for that slavery. It was all moral. If God said it was moral, then it's moral. You know what I mean? And then she cries, and I get pissed off, and I leave. But the last one with the raping the little girls thing, she always tries to rationalize it. So she tried to rationalize it. She said, can you believe this? Which is disgusting in itself. she says, the first thing out of her mouth is, well, they didn't just take those little girls back home and just chain them up outside and make them live in a doghouse and starve them. I'm sure they fed them and gave them clothes and shelter. Like that makes it okay that they were being raped and their entire village and town was killed, including their family. Okay. I was supposed to say, oh, okay, Ma, that all makes sense. Okay, then it's okay that they were raping her. That's okay. And then, of course, she tried to rationalize more different ways, right? So, of course, I said the magic words. If you turn your back on God, you're going to go to hell. Are you going to stand up for him, yes or no? And she stood up and said, yes, it's moral to... She didn't say these exact words, you know. All she said was, yes, it's moral. If God said to do it, then it's moral. But we were talking about raping little girls. She knows that. So she was basically saying, yes, it's moral to rape little girls if God tells you to. I want you to understand that's how much of a devout Christian this woman is. That no matter how evil it is, she will not turn her back on her God. No circumstance, none. She will even say that it's okay to rape little girls as long as God said to do it. That's how much of a Christian, that's how brainwashed she is, okay? And this is the woman who turned her back on her God and said God was wrong and that all men are horrible. And that's why they should never, ever, ever, no one should ever let them lead anything because they are horrible. So this isn't just like some woman that, doesn't, she doesn't go to church and she doesn't whatever and she's a pretend Christian and she's like, well, God was wrong. And he said, no, this is a woman who will say that raping little children is okay if God says it's okay. That's how much of a Christian she is. That's how brainwashed she is. And even that, and what I'm bringing up is, just imagine how much hate she has for me for having a penis. Okay? I want you to imagine it. She literally told God that he was wrong. He was right about raping little girls and human sacrifice, slavery, oppressing women, blah, 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 blah. But you know what he was wrong about? That men are actually horrible. And they should never be leaders. They should never let them be a leader. If they are a leader, you got to just destroy them and everything they stand for. Okay? And I want you to think, how much hate do you have? She had a man that was 15 years old, a child, who had so much honor and love for his family that he sacrificed his every second of the day for them to go to work like a slave. Then come home, and then he still had so much honor and so much love for his kids that he would not leave them, even though every time, my mother is telling me that she would argue with him from the second he got home from work till the second day he went to sleep, every day, every single day. I'm not saying that making that up. She's admitting it, okay? She's admitting that's what she did. And then at the end, she admitted she never let him be leader, and she did it on purpose, fighting constantly because all men are horrible. If this man is labeled horrible and needs to be treated like that after giving up 80 hours of his week to go to work for his family, then come home and endure abuse, an abusive woman, an abusive wife, all for his kids. He's like, I love my kids so much, I'm going to endure this abuse, endure this slavery, endure this every second that I'm awake. I'm either working or I'm being belittled by this woman. I'm going to endure it all because I love my kids so much. And she cheated on him, and she treated him like that. When I was a kid, I wasn't working 70 hours a week, 80 hours a week for my mother. No. So what did she think? What was her opinion of me? What was her opinion of me? And my whole life, I blamed everything on my dad because he was so evil. Okay? He was beyond a bad dad. He was evil. So of course I blame everything on him. And my mother was the one who stood by me, who made sure I had food, made sure I had, roof over my head, even though she wasn't really doing it. The government was doing it. Her first husband was doing it. Her second husband. Always it was a husband. It was never her actually making sure there was food on the table. It was the government. It was some man, one of her 3 marriages that all failed because she treated them all like garbage. Although the next 2 husbands were actually garbage too. So, like I said, my dad was evil. But she picked them. You know what I mean? She picked her first husband in 9th grade. They dropped out of high school. Can you imagine that? You're a little kid, 15 years old. You have so much honor that you go to work and do all this stuff, and you endure all this for your children, for your 4 children. You endure it all because you love them so much. And then she cheats on him and leaves for an evil man. For what? So that we could all have our own bedroom? We can have bigger bedrooms? We can live in a bigger house? Maybe have a little more stuff? I would rather be with a great man who would sacrifice his entire life to make every second just be either being abused by his wife or going to work. I would rather have that man and be poor than an evil man who has a big giant house any day of the week. Any day of the week. But all my life I thought, why is my mother doing this and doing that? It seems so evil to me. And yet she's smiling at me, smirking, acting like she's doing me a favor. And I'll give you an example because it's the most recent one. It was for 10 years. Okay, I don't like strawberries at all. Unless they're only one way do I like strawberries. And I don't like them on cheesecake. Every year she got me for my birthday a strawberry cheesecake for my birthday cake. And every year I would tell her, I don't like strawberries. I don't like that. I can't eat that. And every year I wouldn't eat any of the cake. She would eat all the cake and everyone else would eat the cake. I didn't get any of the cake. And yeah, she's old at this time. And, I'm an adult. But yeah, 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, okay. But each year, starts out with, hey, I don't like that. Why'd you buy that? Ha, 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 ha. Then the second year, I'm like, you did that last year. Well, I don't like that. Third year, by the time 5th year come, I'm like, what the heck is wrong with you? Okay, I can see you're old. You're forgetting 5 freaking years you buy me a cake I don't like. Are you insane? Are you whatever? By 10 years, okay, 10 years she did this. It's not a mistake at 10 years, okay? It's not a mistake. She's not senile or anything. She's not whatever. So 10 years. And I always said to myself, why does she do stuff like that? That's one of billions of examples I can give you through my childhood, right? Billions of examples that I would be like, why did she do that? Like, why? Now. Oh, it all makes sense. Why did she buy me a cake that I don't like, I can't stand, I can't eat for 10 years in a row, even though it got me madder and madder and madder and madder till the point where I don't even celebrate my birthday. I tell everyone, screw you. I'm so mad at my birthday. I don't want to even talk about it. You know what I mean? 10 years? That's why she hates me, because I have a penis. Okay? She hates me because I have a penis. And to think that she would treat me better than her first husband, who did all that for her, that basically he was a slave to her, then endured her abuse for the few hours a day that he didn't have to work, right? He endured all that for almost a decade while the children were coming more and more until they had 4 kids. He still kept loving and doing what he was supposed to do. And she still treated him like garbage. What do you think? What do you think she's going to? How do you think she's going to treat me? How do you think she's going to treat her son? Like you have, and it's not just this hate; it's this pathological hate where when they get their fists, I hate men, I hate. It's that kind of. It's not like, oh, I really hate men. No, I'm talking about